Hello Mayans, and welcome back to my channel. If you're part of that 70% who haven't subscribed yet, please consider subscribing, and don't forget to hit that little bell down below so you'll be notified when I upload new content, as well as postings to my community tab such as polls and questions. Now last week I did a video that was a Q&A on sex for transgender women after they've had bottom surgery, and the very first question I answered was whether I would try men, and I gave a little pithy answer, which was thank you next. But you know, the real answer to that question is actually much longer, and I just didn't include it in the video because of time. But I also thought it would slot in perfectly with the topic of this week, which is that there's a part of me that kind of really wishes I liked penis and men. That's right, I kind of wished I liked cock. Of course, the question I got last week was very male-centric in that he really didn't care about my pleasure at all. He just wanted to know whether I'd be willing to get his rocks off. Wouldn't matter if I was into it, only that he and men like him would somehow benefit from my transition. But really, he asked the wrong question. He should have asked whether my sexual orientation at all was impacted by my transition and then my surgery. And the thing is, in the transgender community, there is some precedent for that. I hear those stories all the time, and in fact it happened to one of my very best friends. Up until her transition, she had always thought of herself as straight, although that was maybe not quite true. But then after her transition, she started having fantasies about men. But why that happened, nobody quite knows. I once had a therapist tell me that once you become the object of your desire, then perhaps I might find that my true sexual orientation would come to the fore. In other words, she said, don't be surprised if you find yourself suddenly attracted to men. I also had another therapist tell me that he thought it was possible that transgender people had a fluid sexual orientation. I don't know, I think all our sexual orientations a little more fluid than we like to believe, but I don't know if that is really the complete answer to that question. I can tell you that the fear that I might actually end up attracted to men was a major factor in my divorce. I can't imagine what it must feel like to suddenly find yourself fantasizing about men, but I can imagine the pain of somebody who would stick by you through your entire transition only to find out that you're no longer sexually attracted to them. But if you're a fan of my channel, you know that obviously didn't happen. I'm still firmly attracted to women, but I do really wish I was also attracted to men and penis. And to be clear, I am not saying I wish I was straight. I'm very happy being attracted to women. I'm just also very curious about what it must be like to see men in that way, the way a lot of other people see them, as attractive, as sort of sexually desirable. Even just saying it, I kind of had to say sorta. I couldn't just straight out say it. But you know what I mean. Hot, I want to jump your bones kind of sexual attraction. Why would I feel that way? Because it would broaden my options. In my 8 years of life as a woman, I've been hit on by way more guys than I've been hit on by other women. In fact, a couple of years ago, I tried this on a dating app. I had, of course, marked off that I was interested in women. Well, just for fun, I changed it to being interested in men to see what would happen. I'd wanted to do it for about 24 hours, and really I could only stand it for 12. Because in that time period, I got 42 contacts from men. 42. Now, for comparison, over the previous 6 months, I had received maybe 4 contacts from women. 4. That was an enormous difference. Huge. And while obviously those wouldn't all have panned out, you know what? I would have gotten a few free meals out of it. Now I know dating straight guys is actually extremely difficult for trans women. I'm not in any way trying to imply that it would be actually easier to date men. I know that men will frequently not date trans women openly, that basically they're a little side piece. With men, there's always the danger of violence. A lot of transphobia and homophobia comes into play for men because, you know, they can't really handle the fact that they're dating somebody who to their friends might be somebody they consider to be a man and what that might say about him. But people do find each other, and when you have more opportunities to find each other, you have a greater chance. Then it might be fun to kind of look around at everybody and go, wow, I'm attracted to everyone here. Also, I want to be very specific here when I say that I don't think that men equals penis necessarily either. Obviously, not all men have a penis, and not everybody who has a penis is a man. But I do believe that there is an intrinsic difference between men and women that goes way beyond our bodies. We communicate differently, we react emotionally differently, and we interact differently. And that doesn't have very much to do with the way we look on the outside. The most masculine-looking lesbian I've ever met somehow still felt like a woman in some ineffable way that I can't quite describe. And I can tell you from talking to their girlfriends when they're in bed, they really like being the bottom. And by the same token, when I interact with a trans woman, she feels just like any other woman to me as well. There's this femininity that just shines through. Now, there has been the occasional guy that I looked at and gone, wow, he's disarmingly cute. For some reason, I don't know. They just kind of did it for me a little bit. But this is the thing, as soon as they open their mouths, all this masculinity comes out and it rubs me the wrong way right away. There's just this rough edge that turns me off. But I think it's also that rough edge that straight women really like, and of course some men as well. And I'm ashamed to admit this, but there was a point in time when I thought I might be attracted to trans guys. Very much like a lot of people, I thought, well, you know, they have a vagina, maybe I can roll with that. Yeah, I was really wrong about that. So wrong. But from that way of thinking, I kind of understand a little bit about why cisgender people feel that way about us. Of course, I learned term, but then again, I know a lot of transgender people. And if you're cisgender and you just don't run into many transgender people, you're not going to learn that lesson yourself. So I and a lot of other transgender women get challenged on two fronts. First, of course, is whether I am really a woman. And even if I get past that hurdle, there's the one of whether I can genuinely claim to be a lesbian. And lots of transphobic people say no to both, obviously. And then there's a situation where somebody tells you that yes, you are a woman, but you're not quite a lesbian. That happens. It happens all the time. And it's all very confusing, and it makes dating so difficult because if I'm interested in a cis lesbian, I'm never quite sure how she's gonna react to me. So I guess I'm just saying that dating is tough all around when you're a transgender woman. And maybe all I need is to undergo some genital conversion therapy so that I like penis too. But maybe not, because that's just some transphobic bullshit that transgender exclusionary radical feminists, or TERFs as we call them, made up to feed into their narrative that trans women are just really sexually violent and rapey men. Rapey as if there's like levels of rape. And then this false equivalency with conversion therapy, as if suggesting that sexual orientation is more than just genitals, is equivalent to repeated intense psychological trauma inflicted by dogma, religious groups, and aversion therapy. You know, I don't like fish, but one day a friend of mine suggested I might try sushi because it's not like cooked fish at all. And it turns out I love sushi. She didn't have to send me to some like intense sushi conversion therapy camp where I was only fed fish and told to pray away the desire for cheeseburgers. She just suggested that maybe my definition of food made from fish was not quite as broad as what was out there, that there were other forms of fish that I simply had not considered. And the world isn't so black and white, there's so many grays in between. I mean, I like tuna, and that is really fishy. People are complicated, and these labels really don't describe our desires as completely and as neatly as we'd like them to. But people hold on to these simplifications because it makes the world easier to understand and less threatening, but it can also lead to a lot of self-loathing, pain, and hate inflicted on others. And before anybody asks, yes, I did once date a pre-op trans woman, and the fact that she had a penis didn't make her any less of a woman in my eyes, or for that matter, me any less of a lesbian because I was attracted to her. What I did learn, though, was what I prefer, and that doesn't happen to be penis. That was before I owned a vagina, though, so maybe I owe it to myself to revisit that experience. It might be fun. Taking applications in the comments down below. Seriously, I would like to know if you experienced a change in your sexual orientation after your transition, or if you've ever felt any attractions that are outside of what you consider to be your sexual orientation. Put that in the comments below too. I suspect it's a pretty common experience. As always, down below are links to my Facebook, my Instagram, and my Twitter. And believe me, you really want to follow my other social media. I put stuff in there I don't put anywhere else. You'll also find a link to my Patreon. If you can spare a dime in the holiday season, please consider supporting what I do. And on that note, like, share, and please subscribe. I am so close to 10,000 subscriber guys, like within 100, and I appreciate every single one of you. See you around the interwebs.